Let's talk a little bit about MAGA, because in some ways, I think what we're dealing with here is the lessons of the Iraq War, and those are valuable lessons, and those lessons do need to be taken to heart. But what are those lessons really? I was on the Piers Morgan program a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, I guess it was, and they had John Bolton on, and I thought that was very interesting because, of course, Bolton is this hated neocon figure. I knew Bolton, knew him pretty well actually from my days at the American Enterprise Institute. He wasn't my immediate neighbor, but he was like right down the hall, so I'd see the guy like every day and had pleasant conversations with him. And of course, in those days, we were dealing with a different set of problems. This was in the 1990s. But Bolton has now become this kind of bogeyman of the neocons, and in many ways, he has also become a big Trump, critic and backstabber. Although he's very enthusiastic, maybe not surprisingly, over Trump's obliteration of Iran's nukes. But interestingly, from that interview, it turned out that Bolton has learned a lesson. Why? Because Bolton said something very interesting that people haven't really focused on. He said, okay, well, he goes, I'm really happy that Trump blew up those facilities. And he also said, I hope that we get regime change, which, by the way, I agree with. I hope we get regime change. He also agreed, however, that we should not be the ones to do it. That's a big change because, of course, in Iraq, we were the ones to do it. And then even more significant, he said that if there is regime change, the Iranian people should take it from here. In other words, the Iranian people should form a government. They should organize their own society. They should ideally be friendly and trade with the United States. But it's their country, and they should organize it their way. The point here, of course, being that the mullahs don't represent the real interests of the Iranian people. So I think this represents, for me, to the degree that Bolton is being honest, that even this kind of quintessential neocon is now changing his spots, is changing his stance, is conceding that he too has, maybe belatedly, but he nevertheless is learning the lesson of the Iraq War. But there are some false lessons from Iraq that also need to be highlighted. And this is what I was referring to when I talked about the extremes. On the one extreme, you have, of course, the sort of neocon interventionism. But on the other hand, you have this idea that the United States should just stay out of it. If there's something going on, something flaring up, something that's happening, even if those people over there are pointing at us, right? Think about it. The Iranians are, what are they shouting in parliament? They're shouting death to America. It's like they're calling out to America, death to you. And then they're going about trying to get these nukes. Who can deny that they have the intention? Who can deny that they have the knowledge? Who can deny that they can get the uranium? Who can deny that they know how to enrich the uranium? It's kind of like saying, listen, we're trying to investigate a murder. We found a guy. He has the motive. He shouts death to that guy every day. And then he's putting a shotgun together, and he knows how to use it. He's a hunter by profession. So all the elements are coming together, and yet there's a certain kind of wing of MAGA that's like, well, don't pay any attention to what they're saying. Don't pay any attention to what they're doing. Literally, unless you see a missile flying over your head, don't do anything. This, to me, is like utter madness. And look, some of it is no surprise. I mean, some of the people saying this have, never paid attention to foreign policy. They don't have a good knowledge of anything above and beyond the kind of obvious lessons of Iraq. They've spent no time studying anything that happened before that. So you've got a kind of entertaining amateurism, which is understandable. It's fun. It's part of the nature of social media. It's part of the democratization of information. I enjoy skirmishing, crossing swords. I'll go on shows with these people, even on the Piers Morgan show I mentioned. I mean, half of that show was Anna Kasparian just shouting. not shouting at me, shouting mainly at Jonathan Conricus, who was the Israeli spokesman, and then shouting a little bit at Piers Morgan. But this normally, this would be inconceivable on television in like the 80s and the 90s. But guess what? I'm actually glad that social media has opened up this kind of free-for-all. I'm okay with it. But it doesn't mean that that free-for-all is always right. In fact, I want to say that in this case, in some ways, it's short-sighted. In some ways, it's naive. And so Trump here has been showing us, I think, pretty effectively that some of these MAGA voices haven't thought hard enough about what MAGA means. But he, Trump, has thought about it, and he, Trump, does best represent it. We are days away from what has been dubbed the Rio Reset, what may be the greatest threat to the US dollar's global dominance in over 80 years. Now, on July 6th, BRICS nations, Russia, China, India, Iran, many more, are expected to unveil their plans to circumvent the US dollar, possibly cratering its value. They've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from the US dollar and US bonds in favor of gold. Now, how can you protect your savings, your IRA, your 401k from the potential fallout from this meeting? Well, you can diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold can be a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. Get a free information kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word Dinesh to 989898. July 6 marks a major meeting among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP. Arm yourself, like Debbie and I have, with information to diversify your retirement savings. Text Dinesh to the number 989898. Claim your free information kit on gold from Birch Gold.